So welcome, Tom.
Thanks, Karen. So glad to be here with you.
I'm glad you're here too because we've got a lot to talk about, a lot of stuff that we have in common, and a lot of thoughts that we share the same. And really, really keen to chat about your perspective on particularly small shifts because I say tiny steps, you say small shifts, and I think we're talking about the same thing. And stop trying to overwhelm ourselves with with the great big picture because we just can't do it
Yes,
most of the time.
yes,
Yeah. So thanks for
absolutely.
coming on.
You're quite welcome. I'm glad to join you here from all the way over in the U.S. I am both an American and an Irish citizen,
Oh,
but I'm
really?
here from Reston, Virginia,
Western
in the
Virginia.
U.S.
Well, you see, I can't. As soon as you say that, I say almost heaven, West Virginia. I can't help
Yeah.
myself. I break into it.
Other side of the state. Other side of the state.
Oh, I love it.
I guess you'd have to break into Eastern Virginia to be on track with me. So, but I don't know if there's an East Virginia song.
Not that I know of. I'm one of those people that I break into. As soon as someone says anything that triggers a little bit of a song in my head, I start singing it, and then I can't get it out. And so anyway, I'll try. I'll try to
There's
just
another
leave.
coming out.
I'll leave John Denver right there. Okay, how's that sound?
Let's do.
So, Tom, just let me read. You are the founder and CEO of the Shift Effect Initiative, a global keynote speaker, author, and strategist for leaders. I just want to say this: the Shift Effect Initiative, just so that we have a picture of it, seeks to spread the notion of small shifts throughout our society where complexity can often stifle action. I absolutely love that because I think that there's a couple of things. We try to do great big things too many times and then we fail and then we beat ourselves up. And where I really like failure personally, but we beat ourselves up. But the other thing is the world's gone mad with
Yes.
complexity and let's get ourselves in the biggest shit show of a tangle that we possibly can. And now we don't know where to start to get ourselves out. So I love the idea of the shift effect, what you're saying about it. Just take tiny little nudges to get ourselves to a better place. What are your
Thank you.
thoughts?
And it's I mean, we could go to so many different directions with this. I mean, you and I have worked in corporations and nonprofits and all that, and that's where this notion comes from.
Mm,
But boy, you are so right. Like in the society right now,
yeah.
particularly in our country, we are many of us stifled
Mm,
about what actions we can take,
yeah.
right? And so it can the notion of small shifts can apply in the societal context as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's just so many applications for it.
Mm,
But there may be a lot of folks who would say, big deal, what's that about? I want to say a little bit about where it came from for me because I think that's the more interesting
yeah.
story.
Yeah.
Um, I have been coaching leaders for a long time,
Yeah.
and I began to notice this pattern about 10 years ago. It just kept repeating itself. Um, and it led to the notion of small shifts. But the real find for me was that a lot of my clients got stuck in what I would call all or nothing thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wondered if this would be familiar to you.
Yep.
Like, so many times, I think when you're brought in as a coach, we have this privilege of being the outsider, and to us, things may look very clear,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
there's an easy solution. But I kept noticing my clients getting stuck because they were at an extreme, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the small shifts came out of that. But I'll give you an example. I was working with a guy who was a software manager, and he needed the cooperation of two other managers in his
Yeah.
company to get his program put through the company.
Yeah.
So I asked the brilliant coaching question, Kieran. I said, have you talked to them? And, and He said, no. And I said, okay, why not? He says, I don't do small talk.
Oh,
And I said, okay, so you think in order to get to these guys, to get their cooperation for the project you need to implement, you have to do small talk? He says, yeah, I hate that. I hate going to a party and trying to think up something to say to people. And I think of myself as a substantive person. So I said to him, okay, let's think about this. Let's say you had a continuum where one end of the continuum was gabber and
yep,
the other end was recluse. Which way do you lean? And he said, well, I probably lean more towards recluse, right? And
yep,
I said, okay, so then in order to talk to these guys, you don't need to become a gabber. You don't
yep,
need to go to the other extreme,
yep,
right? We can probably figure out something in the middle that'll allow you to still be substantive,
yep,
but not have to do small talk.
yep.
Now, if your listeners are probably listening to this going, sounds pretty simple to me, right? Um, but that is what happened time after time. And so this shift effect book is about 50 of my clients who couldn't see that small shift. And each chapter is a continuum where
Yeah,
we frame the extreme to try to see what is the small shift. So for me, the more interesting part of it is that stuckness,
yeah,
about
yeah.
being stuck in an extreme.
Yeah, I love that, and I think well, I love that in so many levels, and because the extreme doesn't have to just be gabness and recluse. That it could be
Yep.
so many things like catastrophic and reckless, or whatever that
Yes.
sort of thing. So it could be in anything, but just what you're saying about not talking to people, I. Yeah, I come across that all the time. And I say, what did they say? I don't know. I haven't talked to them. Well, how do you
Why
expect
not?
anything to be resolved if you don't talk to them? Well, I don't want to talk to them
Yes.
because they think such and such. And I'm like, you're making that assumption. No,
Yes.
it's based on what? Well, well, I, well, stuff. And it's like, no,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you don't have
Yeah.
the evidence actually. So how about we have a chat
Yes.
and yeah, to them? That's so you're right. And I think that there's in not just in a conversation, having to talk to someone, in anything, there's this, and this is part of my thinking too on this topic, is that we fear, like, the to go to one extreme is such a fearful state. It instills fear that that is such a big place to go that I don't even know where to start. So I
Yep.
love small shifts. I also call them nudges. Just a little nudge, a tiny nudge, as long as it's in the right direction. That,
Yep.
and that doesn't become fearful. Well, it
Yep.
still is because if you haven't practiced it, but it's not the same as that great big step. Mm,
And the fear takes many forms.
mm,
So if you think about my guy, he didn't want to become something that he was not.
yeah,
He
yeah,
thought if he went and talked to those guys, he was going to be a small talker, right? And
mm,
there are so many other examples in the book about this where, like people who don't want to become sort of a huckster type,
yeah,
um, or they don't want to become selfish.
mm,
They're selfless at the
mm.
extreme. And they think if they take an action or in the other direction, they'll be seen as selfish. I had a client who was just this way, grew
Mm,
up Catholic, said, I'm not a big practicing Catholic now, but those stories stick with you.
mm,
And she wasn't taking several actions on her behalf and therefore was burning out.
mm,
Her energy was depleted. She was overwhelmed at work. So we set up the selfish, selfless continuum.
mm,
But for her, the fear was being seen as something she didn't want to be seen as. And
Mm.
that came up a lot for a lot of my folks.
That's interesting. Yeah, see, this is a new part. There's a new perspective for me. The identity part is that what you're saying is
Uh-huh.
that people have sort of established this self, perceived identity, of who they are, but probably aligned to their values, probably very aligned
Yes,
to their values and their beliefs and
yes,
and their experiences, what they've been told about themselves and everything else. And the fear is there's two fears. If I get out of that, it's unknown, but also that
yeah,
changing identity. Isn't it amazing how much we wrap up in our identity? That's just
absolutely.
incredible. Yeah. I'm
I
not that
saw you
person.
had something that you do in your workshops around the notion of identity.
Leadership identity. That's probably what it
Yeah,
is. So it's like, and so I do, confident leaders, and it starts with leadership of self, leadership of others, leadership of community, and that means community could be your workplace, whatever, people around you, leadership mindset, and then finishing with leadership identity, and that is not to shift your identity as in I was this person, now I'm that person, but just to say, just to identify as a leader, I
yep,
actually am a leader. And I don't have to change
yeah,
anything about my identity, but I'm still a leader. Here
yes,
I am I friggin' am a leader because a lot of people say
yeah,
to me, yeah, but I'm not a leader. Like, I'm not, I don't have a manager's role. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make you, that manager's role does not make you a leader. So let's get
yep,
clear on that. But, yeah, so that's where I've got the identity part. Yeah, so if we can
yeah.
see ourselves as, which I don't think changes your identity. You can still be a Catholic, you can still be a daughter, you can still be a whatever you believe in. That's and still have you can still add to your identity, and you can still have a
Yes.
higher identity without changing who you are or your basic what's formations of who you are. That's yeah.
You know, I'll guess, given that, your sort of way of being, that you encounter the same thing as I do in this realm, that the people I work with, 99% of them are not fix-it projects.
Yeah.
They're people who are really good
Yep.
and they're wanting to get better.
Yep. Yep.
Uh, and so we're not changing an identity.
Yep.
We're adding to the
Adding
repertoire.
to it. Yeah. I
You
agree.
know,
I agree. I've had people come to me that have been sent to me to be fixed,
yes,
and it doesn't
yes,
work. It
yeah,
actually doesn't work unless the person themselves wants to
yes,
is got a growth mindset or has got something about them that, or it could be that they're absolutely sick and tired of fighting. Even though that's all they know, and they're fighting against the system, they're fighting against the organization because they're tired of it. So then they'll shift. Does that make sense? Or if they've got a growth
yes,
mindset, they'll shift. But if they're just there because they're just belligerent shit, it's like they're not moving. They're not coming
yep,
with me at all. So don't send those people. But
yes.
I got to tell you though, I had one person, and her manager did not send her to fix her. Like they saw potential, and but she'd become so frustrated with the organization, so frustrated with life, actually, when we got right down to it, the personal
Hmm.
situation and just life. And she said to me on the very first day, and she won't mind me saying this if she listens to this episode, she said, Karen, you are not my kind of person. And I know my boss sent me so you can fix me, and you're bloody well not going to fix me. And she says,
Ah,
I don't want to be here. And she says, don't take offense to that, but you are not my kind of person. And
ah,
and I said, well, that's fine because I don't take anything personally. That's one of my things. Well, I try. Most of the time I'm good at it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I said, well, I'll tell you what, give me the day. Just sit here for the day. You're already here. And then let's just see how you feel at the end of the day. By the end of the day, she said, well, that wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And I'm
uh-huh.
staying. because I actually, you're
Uh,
not trying to make me be something and fix me. I said, no, I'm
right.
absolutely not trying to fix you or make you be something. And I would love you to stay for the rest of the program. I want that because I know you'll get a lot of it. And she said, I will. And then she wrote a testimonial. This is, I still call this the best testimonial I ever got. And said, I came into this program kicking and screaming because
I saw that.
I didn't want to be here. I leave kicking and screaming because I don't want to go. And
I
that
read that on your site. I love that testimonial. That just jumped out at me.
and it's just it's the best. And she is a different person now. And she was still no, I'm going to rephrase that. She's behaving like a different bird because she was already
Uh,
that fantastic person
uh-huh.
underneath that had become so damn frustrated and powerless, feeling completely powerless, completely overlooked, completely dismissed and disregarded, that worthless because of, well, because of one, other people's behavior, but the way she also perceived other people's behavior and how she interpreted what that meant for her. But
Uh-huh.
underneath, she was a great person. And all we
Uh-huh.
had to do was just shift a few, perspectives and shift a few perceptions and interpretations and give her back some agency and
Uh-huh.
some warmth and some love. And like one thing I do in my programs is I declare it outright. I give absolute 100% love to every person in that room, and I will
Love it.
love them. So I kind of say, I'm like, I give you a punch in the face while I'm cuddling you. I kind of say that. Here she is, this wonderful person that was already there, emerged through the all the chaos and all the shit, and she's so happy. I saw a picture of her. A few of them went out for lunch a couple of weeks ago, and I couldn't make it. And I saw a photo of her, and I did send her a message saying, you look like a completely different person. And she said, Karen, you've got no
Mhm.
idea. I feel like a completely different person. I just, like, she looked different. She didn't have that stress on her face. So, anyway,
That
that's
gives
just
me
one.
chills.
I just like to share that story because, about this fix thing, they didn't send her to fix her, but
Just gives me chills to hear that. Mm.
mm, we're carrying a lot of shit. We really are.
Yep.
And shit that isn't ours, actually, a lot of the time.
Yep. Well, and
Mm.
you were mentioning, she felt powerless.
Yeah,
And I think that that shows up in many different
yeah,
ways.
yeah,
In your case, which I've had with many of my folks, it was, I guess sort of some anger at the system
mm,
and feeling powerless in that way. Another way that I encounter it is people who are overwhelmed.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and feeling like they can't exert any agency
yeah,
because there's just too much,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Um, and so one of the examples in the book is about that, where we have a continuum with act on one hand and reflect on the
yeah,
other.
yeah.
Uh, and I don't know if you ever came across, there's a great book that a guy over here put out called Deep Work.
No, I haven't. No.
And
No.
and he's a professor at Georgetown, which is a university here near us. And what he said is that in the workplace, many of us have become human network routers
Yep.
because we have so much stuff coming at us. And we get the email and okay, this one's got to go to Kieran. That goes over here. I can take care of this one. I'll do that.
Yep.
Let me send this one over to Joe.
Yep.
And by the end of the day, we look back and we say, I know I was doing something today. I just can't figure out what it was.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
and this guy, this was a cybersecurity director that I'm talking about. He felt frozen in meetings.
Mm,
He had so many things going on in his head, and he was leading these meetings, the director of an agency, and he didn't know what to do. He couldn't act,
mm,
and he had so many actions.
mm,
And what this guy Newport talks about in his book is reflection.
mm,
That the other side is leaders, creative people need to have some time amidst
Mm.
all this tumult where there is reflection.
Yep.
Um, and so I said to him, okay, well, let's let's we met every 2 weeks. I said, come back next time with the number of projects you have and we'll take a look at it, right? So he comes back, he's got 98
Oh,
projects.
oh my God.
That's what I did. I
Wow.
was like, 98, and and
Oh,
he said, yeah, and so one of the little techniques we did, I said, okay, let's just capture all those. He did, right? So I said, what are the top five? He listed those. Then I said, okay, what's the one you want to start with? We picked the one, right? So then I said, okay, he said, the problem with this list is I can't just check off each one. Like he said, many of them require lots of thinking.
yep.
And I said, okay, how are you going to get time to reflect, to be able to reflect, to start this project, get it going? And he said, he says, my boss is going to have to get me out of meetings. And he didn't have a real great relationship with his boss. So I said, well, kind of looked at him like that. And he said, all right. And so he went to the boss, said, can you clear me out of these meetings? Came back 2 weeks later, and I said, okay, well, how did it go? He says, I feel great. I said,
Yep.
why? He says, I had time to focus on that one project.
Yep.
I got it done and I moved it along to the next people. That thing has been sitting there forever. And so I'm thinking, okay, that's one. You got 97 to go. But he's thrilled.
Yeah.
And he says, the reason I feel good is that I finally felt like with that creating that space for me, I had time to think.
Yeah.
And there was a guy I knew long ago who was an executive here who said, my job is to think,
Yeah.
and I don't have time to think.
Yeah.
And in this case, this guy made the time for it. He got that one done, and then he thought, I can handle the other 97 now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But before that, that
Yeah.
overwhelm just had him stuck,
Yeah.
powerless.
Yep. Well, I understand that. We live on 11 acres and we've got so many things that need fixing, and we've just now replaced a whole heap of fences and built a shelter and buried pipes, and we're like a whole lot of stuff done. But in the middle of it, and so I ended up writing down all the things that have to be done because I just
Oh, yeah.
we keep saying, oh God, we got to oil that deck. Oh shit, we got to paint I've got to fix the spouting. Just every time
Yeah,
you
yeah,
walk past something, you see it. And I said,
absolutely.
right, that's it. I'm writing it all down on a list. And so I did my big list, and then I looked at the list and thought, oh my God, that's one hell of a list. There was about 60 things on it, right? And big
Yeah.
things, like big full day things. And then when we got our fences done, it's like, oh my God. And so I went out there. I couldn't think to work. So I just said, I'm going out. And I just went out. I started taking down fences, and I was in the middle of it, and I was doing it
Yep.
all, with them. And do you know what? My head became so much clearer, and I got the energy back, and I got the excitement back. And
Uh,
and what I started noticing I was doing was, while I was out there doing that and stuff, I started doing all the other little jobs, as well. I'm like, oh shit,
uh,
might as well do that bloody thing while I'm out here. Oh damn it, I'm going to stick those boards on that fence. Actually, I'm going to replace that. Damn, I'll put that gate on. And I just got this sort of bang, 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 bang. I've got so much done. There's still a list. I can tell you, there's still a list, but it's
but
just
yeah, you felt good.
I felt fabulous. And
Uh,
before, it was just too much in my head. And it wasn't until I decided to, and the problem is I was switching between farm work and leadership work, my
yeah,
work,
yeah, yeah.
constantly switching
Work.
between and trying to, I'm going to have to do that, so I'd do a little bit of work and then I'd go outside and do something else. And then thought, no, I'm taking 3 weeks out and I'm just doing farm work. I'm not even going to look at my other work, just, well,
Yeah.
because I had, and unless I had a workshop, but I had all that, I'd just take a day out and go bang, clean that up and then head off. But it made such a difference, and
Oh
it's
my God.
now, oh, it's just great. And I look outside now and we got these big new fence and all our tea trees are gone and no more mozzies and mosquitoes, it's just fabulous. But
Fantastic.
yeah, and
I
now
mean,
I'm itching.
that's that other side of powerlessness, not the one that you
Mm,
described, of the person being discouraged, but
yeah,
that overwhelm,
yeah, yeah.
and I just think in this world now, any progress makes
Yes,
us feel better,
that's what I think. Yeah.
it could be your farm work, it could be your leadership work, but you just getting something
Yep.
done,
Yep.
like it feels great, and it then allows us to spring into the other stuff. I think it's such an important piece of
I
today's world.
I agree. And when you say, like the other thing too is, my confident leaders, I've got one that is just like people from any organization can join, and come to. And that one starts on Tuesday in a few days. And
Oh,
the
very
other
good.
one with an organization starts in about 4 weeks. But I hadn't done, I'm usually way ahead. I'm usually like already advertised, and already sort of way ahead. But this, for some reason this year, I've been way behind, and I haven't been able
Uh,
to get my mind into it, and it's like, oh, I'll get there, I'll get there. I'm damn it, I hope I don't end up doing it last minute, it's that kind of
yeah.
stuff. But because I actually cleared my plate of all the other stuff, I felt
Uh-huh.
great. And then I'm like, oh, bam, I'm ready. Now I'm ready to really get into it. And I've already prepped for, like 3 months ahead. Because
Oh, fantastic.
I just went bang, like I feel like I feel like I'm on a roll. And
Fantastic.
I don't always feel like that, but it's so when you're talking about that can be in different areas, sometimes even moving one area can accelerate another area
Yes.
because you feel better, you feel
Yep.
not so overwhelmed. And we've got to also recognize that overwhelm is not just work. Overwhelm is also our home, our finances, our family, our friendships,
Yes.
our cost of living. Like overwhelm is, can be, well, I tend to think, and you tell me your thoughts on this. I tend to think that once one area starts to become overwhelmed, it's like a cancer that spreads to all areas of your life.
Yep.
Everything starts to, um, feel unmanageable. But mm,
Yep. Yeah. I agree. There was a guy here years ago who wrote very interesting thing about work-life balance.
yeah,
Um, and he said that that's a false
yeah,
um, dichotomy.
yeah,
I think along the lines of what you're saying, work and life for him are on the same
yeah,
side of the ledger, right?
yeah,
He
yeah,
called that the external.
yeah.
He said the other side is internal.
Oh, that's a good
Uh,
way. Yeah,
isn't that interesting?
yeah,
And,
yeah,
and so the internal is, can I manage that sense of overwhelm in
mm,
me?
yeah,
Do I feel like I'm doing my purpose in life?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
am I connecting with the people I want to connect? So to
yeah.
me, it was a validation of what you're saying, that it's not just work, it's all the stuff, right?
Mm, yeah,
And we can't balance those things out because they're on the same side. You
yeah,
know, uh,
yeah.
it's the internal work that needs to be done for us to feel like, oh, okay, now I can tackle that external.
I like that. Yeah, that's actually good. And I don't believe in work-life balance because you can't, it's movable. It moves too much, it's
Yes,
all over the place.
yes,
Some days you got to give more work and some days you got to give more life. And that's just,
yeah,
you can't. But I like that. And tell me this, like, I've had so many people on this podcast that I've asked a similar question to the same. And I don't have the answer, and I'm guilty of this as well. Is it why is it, in your opinion, that we know what we've got to do? Right. So for example, we know we've got to talk to those people. We know we've got to go to the boss and ask for meetings. So we know, but we're just so paralyzed that we don't do
yeah,
it. And
yeah,
in particular, when you're talking about reflection, I love to sit on the couch and just ponder because I need
Uh-huh.
that. I have to have it. But I'm always fighting a sense of guilt while I'm doing it. Does it, I'm always fight. So I feel I have to write down all my ponderings because then I feel like I'm productive, which is stupid, which is stupid, but I do it. But,
I
but
love it.
but it's that reflection. I talk to a lot of leaders the same thing. You've got to have time to think, and they're like, "But I don't have time to think," and I'm like, "But you've got to find time to
You
think."
got to find it. Yeah.
And but I haven't got it, and I'm like, "Well, put it in your diary first." But there's nowhere to put it, and I said, "Then
Yep.
tell somebody to back off. Tell someone to eject out of one of those spaces because you have time to reflect, but I haven't got time." And I'm like, well, then you're on a mouse wheel forever and ever and ever. I said to my partner, stick a sign on your door, the between not available between for the next hour, not
Hmm.
available till
Yeah.
11 o'clock. Stick a sign and just shut it. I can't. Why?
Did your partner do it? Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't do it. No, doesn't
Yeah.
do it. Why?
Yeah.
Why can't you
Yeah.
do it? Because someone might need me. And I'm like, you don't have to be there. They can need you at 11 o'clock. Stick the bloody sign
Yeah.
on your door. No, never
Yeah.
done it. Never done it. So I think people, well, I've just admitted the guilt, it's like if I stop and I've got a thing and I have to admit, and it's not good, but I have a what's the word? A hatred. It's probably too strong a word, but a very strong dislike to laziness. Like I freaking
Uh-huh.
hate lazy people. Do you know? I can't
Yeah.
stand it. And so whenever I feel like, oh, Karen's just being lazy, that's when I
Aha.
get,
Your thing. Projection.
yeah,
Projection leaps to the fore.
I get, yeah, and then I get the pen out. I go, because I'm not going to be lazy.
Well, I think this question is so key. Why don't we do
Yeah,
what we know we have to do, right?
yeah,
And I think that I've become a better coach
yeah,
because I realize we don't. And I say we,
yeah,
right? To include myself.
yeah.
So, for example, I'll let your listeners in on a secret that they can't see because I put this nice picture of my great grandmother's village in the background of my head here.
Ah, is that what it
If
is? Nice.
that's Ballydehob, Ireland. But if I didn't have that on, and your listeners could see the state of my office, Kira, they would see something that continues to bedevil me. I want this to be an inspiring, clean office, and it doesn't happen. Um, and so I think I've become a better coach because I realize we all do that.
Yeah, yeah,
And so my one of my tasks when I'm coaching people is looking for that key that unlocks the door. And
yeah,
sometimes it's so simple. Like
yeah,
if it's almost embarrassing to say, here's what my clients did as a result.
yeah.
One guy started walking in after the weekend into his corporate office and started saying hello to people. That was
Yeah,
his
yeah,
change, right?
yeah, yeah.
But for him, it
It was
was
big.
monumental. One of his employees called me and said, whatever you're doing with him, keep doing it. And
Yeah.
I said, what did he do? And she said, he just came in the office these last few days and he's saying hi to people. He's asking them how their weekend was, right? He was pissing off people
Yeah,
right and left.
yeah,
Great producer,
yeah.
boss loved him, but he like created a swath of
Mm,
destruction.
yeah,
Um, Somehow, the one thing I did with him was I did which you will know, a 360. So we got
yeah.
feedback from his superiors, his peers, his employees, and I just fed it back to him. And he said, I never knew people thought I was so angry.
Wow.
And so over the weekend, he flipped the switch.
Mm.
I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't say, you should do this, you should do that. He did it. And
Mm.
I keep finding that with my coaching clients. And so therefore then I am I'm like always holding back the thought of like you should put a list on your door, or
Yep.
you should do this
Yep.
because it never works.
No,
Never.
no.
They've got to find it. And I've got to be the one to try to help them, as you said before, see a different perspective
Yeah.
or consider options or
Yeah.
whatever it is. But the question is there every single time. Why don't we do what we know we should do?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, you know what, Tom? If I take my screensaver off, I will just for 1 second, just to show you, because I'm thinking maybe we should both do it. But oh shit, actually, I don't know how you do it. Video on effect. Here we go. Look. Oh no. Oh my God. I don't know what I've done. So hang on. Chill background. Here we go for 1 minute. Look at that. Oh, that's not that bad, is it? That
That looks very good to me.
if I went the other
That
way.
looks awesome to me.
Oh well, it's not really. If I anyway, there you go. That's funny.
I mean, if I did it, unfortunately, it goes just toward a window, right? So you don't really see. Oh, wait, let's stop the video. Let me see. I'll do it because, you've made the challenge and, and, and so, but, really all you will see is, why isn't it going? Let's see. Oh, I know why. Here we go. Yeah, see how it's like I'm resisting here. So
That's not
you
bad.
can see, you can only see that, but I don't, if I wanted to, let me see if I can do this. This is really my core of rot here. Let me see if I can shift it. Oh no, I'd have to shift that. All right, here we go. Hold on. I'm going to do it. This is, this is really gonna, all right, here we go. We're gonna do a little sweep of Tom's office here. All right. You see
And
that?
he's still clean.
There's a plate, right? Then here we go.
Oh yeah,
There's the
that's what my desk looks
pile.
like. Yeah.
My poor great grandmother sitting amidst the piles there. So yeah, it's we finally had a real revelation here on your podcast. Tom reveals his his office his office mess.
Oh God. Yeah, well, you know what? I love I love telling people in my programs, stop trying to be perfect because do you know what?
Yep.
None of us are perfect. All of us have got flaws, and even us who are coaching, or leading, we're not perfect. We're actually only trying to facilitate a safe space so that you can do your stuff.
Yep.
We're not saying, "Oh, I'm the fucking guru and I've got everything sorted and I am perfect." And if you are, you shouldn't be doing that job. You really should not be doing that job
True.
because we're not perfect. We're just as bloody useless as everybody else, except we've got a gift of being able to pull stuff out of people, to help them make better choices. And that's as well, it's not
That
all it
is
is.
true.
It's not all it is. I mean, there's a hell of a lot more goes into it than that, but we're not perfect. And no one's perfect.
That
Is
is
this
for sure.
now you've just changed your screen again? Is this another shot of your
Yeah.
parents' place or grandparents' place in
No, so
Ireland?
this is further north in the country. This is in Ireland again, and it's in near a place called Westport, a beautiful northwestern part of Ireland.
Oh, that's
And
beautiful.
this is a place that we just stayed on this lane here, and it's one of my favorite places to be.
Wow. If any of you are just listening on Apple or Spotify or whatever, you're probably going to go and have to have a look at the YouTube video so that you can see all this, all these lovely pictures. When were you born in America or did you
I was
come?
born in America,
Yeah.
yeah, and I became an Irish citizen a few years ago. it was a passion project.
Yeah.
I just connect back to that island. When I'm there, I feel like this is home, and
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
ancestors are from there, and I love being there. And I
Mm,
wanted to, I don't know, somewhat of a gift to my grandmother and my great grandmother to become a citizen, to sort of have it be full circle,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
left. They came here on, I ride on their shoulders, right?
Yeah.
And I thought maybe somewhere up there they're happy that their great grandson and their grandson is acknowledging what they did, and where they came
Yeah.
from.
I really love that. Really
Oh,
love that.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real heart connection.
Mm,
I love the people there. I love the scenery, and
yeah.
yeah, I definitely want to be there more often.
Mm. Would you ever retire there?
I would, but as you know, if you're in a partnership, it takes two, and so it
Yep.
might take some convincing. What I have agreement on is like 3 weeks, to be there and either travel or just be in a
Yeah.
place, and we have
Yeah.
cousins there, and
Yeah.
we love seeing them, and my wife is also of Irish ancestry, and
Oh, really?
so we both have very good connections to the country.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got Hawaii is my place. It's
I
that
saw you'd gone over there.
I've been there like 23 times,
Mm,
and usually for a month at a time. Usually, well,
yeah, that's great.
lately. It's only been a couple of weeks at a time. But yeah, I just feel like as soon as I land, I feel like I'm at home, and
Yes,
it's
that's it.
just, yeah, it's really nice. I don't look Hawaiian at all, like I'm a lily white.
No, no. Ah,
But,
ah.
I just love it. It's just really, yeah, one of those places. But I also love Cambodia, and it was one of those places I was always scared of because of the Khmer Rouge and all the shit
Sure.
they were bombed the hell out of, and I've always been scared of Cambodia. And a friend of mine has got a charity over there, and she said, "Why don't you come over and do some leadership training?" We,
Uh,
and I'm like, nah, yeah, okay. And I was trying to pretend to be all brave, and I'm like, I'm shitting
ah,
myself. Oh yeah, am I safe? Is it a safe
ah.
place? And I ended up going, and I've been back, several times, and will continue to go
Oh,
back every
fantastic.
year. Like it's if I were to ever move anywhere in the world, it would be Cambodia. Yeah, I would.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow,
absolutely
that's a turnaround.
love it. Absolutely love it. I love that. What's the word I'm looking for? It's not native, because Hawaii's sort of got that sort of more native
Mhm.
feel. And I don't mean native like savage natives, but a native, humanity. And Cambodia's got that same. It's just very, very, although Hawaii's a bit messier now, a bit
Yeah,
very
built
white
up of
and
some.
messy, but just that whole the purity of the spirit, that's a
Mhm.
spiritual kind of thing that sits for
Yes.
both of them. And yeah, I think it's nice. And yes, I would like to move out of where I live, but no, my partner, no, there's two kids here and a mother, and
Well, there
so
you go.
yeah, it's kind of like one day can we? Because
Yes.
I hate this place.
Yes. There's a little bit of that going on for me as well. But the one thing too that I love about Ireland is they love chat and they
Yeah,
love words. They
yeah,
really appreciate a good turn of phrase, a
yeah,
well-written thing.
yeah, yeah,
And I don't think here, certainly there are individuals who are the same here in the
yeah,
US, but it's not a national characteristic like it is in Ireland.
yeah, yeah,
And so you can be talking to the gas station attendant
yeah,
and get a hilarious joke, or, where you're looking, you're going, what did he just say? I mean, it's just, it's a really good place for conversation, anywhere
yeah.
you go.
And do you reckon it's like it's a place for, what am I looking for? Sort of still that pure, it's not pure, but leaning towards, if we're going to go to
Yeah,
extreme, leaning towards extreme and a pure community. A lot of these places where it's like, well, let's say America right now, and Australia's getting just the same. Everyone's fighting with each other, and got to take sides, and you run someone off the road and beat the shit out of them with a machete, and God knows what. What's that? What the hell is that? But then I
I
see
know.
other places that like we don't live like that. Sure, they've got criminal
Yeah,
elements. There are bad elements, but as
yeah,
a whole, it's like, no, that's not the behavior that we're going to have here. And maybe
yeah.
I'm
I am.
dreaming, maybe I'm
No,
wishful.
I'm totally with you, and I'm sure Irish people would say, he's being naive. But I, the last time we came back, this has happened several times. Kathleen and I both noticed as soon as we started driving
Mm,
in the Washington area, somebody, like the first hour, somebody
mm,
cut me off,
mm.
and I said, that would not have happened in Ireland. Now, again, Irish people, particularly in Dublin, would say you know,
Yep,
he's
dreaming.
smoking, Yeah, but it was noticeable, and
Yeah,
in the grocery store as well. Somebody
yep.
cutting in front with a cart or whatever. Um, and particularly, I think in the rural area, there's much more appreciation, as I say, of just genuinely connecting with people and having tea, and just sitting down for a while. I think,
Mm,
as you said, there are things that are changing. There's traffic in different places, and there's crime, and some little kind of right-wing kind of movements and things like that.
mm.
But it's, I think, on the whole, much closer to what you're saying about a community
Yeah.
orientation. For example, I found several years ago a 101-year-old cousin. I
Wow.
was I was writing a story about her aunt. That woman, the aunt, went on the Titanic. Um,
Wow.
and I'm currently writing a novel that focuses on her, right?
Oh my
Anyway,
God.
I I wanted to find out stuff about her, and when I
Yeah.
went on the website for this town, there was the niece at 95. And I said to the secretary of the town, I called up and said, "Look, did she ever tell you anything about Bridget, the woman on the Titanic?" And she said, "No, she didn't. But that's okay. She's 101 now. I bring her Holy Communion every Sunday. I can ask her. So we
Oh.
got over there fast to
Mm.
meet her, right?
Yep.
And we went back for her 102nd birthday. We went back for her 103rd
Oh
birthday.
my
Um,
God.
and what we noticed, what people would do, Kieran, they would just come over
Yep.
and sit in
Yep.
Kitty's living room and chat.
Yep.
That was it. That was community. And that woman, she engendered community. The cops came in, the politicians came in,
Wow.
her friends and relations came in. It was like you were back in the 1800s or something.
Wow.
Um, and it was really, I think, an example of what you're saying, that
Mm. Mm.
community. Now, in those small villages, the opposite can happen, like as you
Yep.
might
Yep.
suspect.
Yep.
Everybody knows each
Yep.
other, little
Yep.
resentments come up, and that happened too, right?
Yep.
Uh, but I still think there is something there that
Mm.
allows us to connect genuinely with people, and to appreciate the small community stuff. Like right now, I
Mm.
watch every Monday, not every Monday, but I'll occasionally turn it on. They have in the town, they have a little lottery that they do,
Yeah.
and people,
Yeah.
get their tips and everything. And every Monday, Bally Hav, live on Facebook, shows the pulling of the tickets, right?
Yeah.
It is the least ready for prime time thing you've ever seen, right?
Yeah.
But I absolutely love it, right? One day they were just looking at a blank screen. The lotto sign was up, nothing else. 45 seconds, you're just looking at this. Finally, a woman comes in and she says, "I'm so sorry. Liam's cow just had a calf." That's why we're late. And I was like, oh, that makes me so happy.
I love that. Oh, I know. We've become so bloody hell bent on this performative stuff. Like how
Yeah,
does everything look? I love that story, and they reckon that connection is the key to longevity. Do you know how you're connected with people in the community?
they
And
do
look,
say that.
103. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Um.
I mean, and she looked like we both said to each other, she's going to make it to 104. And
Yeah.
then unfortunately, like 2 months later, she got pneumonia, and within a week, she
Oh.
was dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think if if she hadn't caught that, I
Should
think
still
she
be
could have gone
going.
on.
Wow.
Yeah,
When I was in Nepal last year, oh the year before, yeah, last year, the I stayed in a community homestay, just in someone's house in a village. And
nice.
the same thing, people just kept wandering in, and they would wander straight through her house, just pull up a seat in the kitchen, and they had like a bucket or something, and they would just talk in Nepali. So I couldn't understand what they were saying, but it doesn't matter. They,
Yeah.
they were just chatting about life, and then they would just walk out the back door, go to the well, fill their bucket up, and then they would just like talk a bit more, have a biscuit, and then just walk out. And the whole village, they all just kept doing this. And it was just so wonderful. Even though I couldn't
Ah,
understand a word they were saying,
yeah.
the feeling, the energy, and it was just like
Yeah, great.
they would just make a cup of tea or make a milky tea or a coffee or something for each other, and then they just sit there and it's like, it's just that moment to stop, and then
It
they'd be off
is.
again. And I, you know, all I could think was, what have we lost? What have we
Yeah,
lost? Because I know we used to do that. Remember my mum, and the neighbors, they would just wander in. They
we
just
did too.
come in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just
We
came in.
Yep. We played with all the kids in the street. We just all went off riding bikes. You didn't have a particular friend. You just went with whoever turned up on their bike and off you go. And I never forget a stream of neighbours always through the house sitting at the kitchen
Yes.
table with mum. I don't know how all that sedentary bloody lifestyle, sitting around drinking cups of tea can't be very good. But, maybe the connection is what kept them going so
Maybe.
long.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, we had the exact same thing, and I miss that. And
Yeah, I do too.
my father was like all the neighborhood kids loved my father because if they came in, he would say, "Trish, Ed, great to see you." He
Yeah,
loved these kids,
yeah,
so they just kept coming.
yeah. Of course they did.
Yeah,
Wow. You know what? When you're talking about small shifts and that sort of stuff, what, why? How easy would it be to apply that to now? And I know we met
Mhm.
through Sam, and I rave about Sam. I love Sam. And she's writing the Force for Good project, Force for Good book, and what she's saying is, in you get a choice of how you show up. Like we can either buy into the shit show, or we can buy into making the world a better place. And I think that people become overwhelmed again with the extremes. The shit show is so
Yeah.
extreme and um,
Yes.
so big and so daunting and so prevalent. It's so there, and it's on the news, and it's rah, rah, rah. So your reticular activating system is constantly looking for shit that's going on. That sort of stuff. But then there's this other extreme that is pure kindness and community and doing good, and building a better world, and looking for opportunities to expand other people and celebrate other people. Yes, I know how powerful the media is, and that we are caught up in the shit show.
Yes.
It's very hard to get out of it unless you turn the turn the news. We don't watch the news because I just don't want a bar of it. But there's still Facebook. You still can't avoid it because it still shows up regardless of where you look. But and everyone's talking about it. But that small shifts, you know, to create the world that you and I are talking about, that I don't believe we're the only people longing for that world and wishing it was
Yeah.
back to what it was. And there's so many people still long for that. Why can't we just be nice to each other? Why, like we used
Yep.
to be? Why can't we just have neighborly shit going on? You know, it can't be that hard to just nudge in the right direction. Just nudge a smile,
Yep.
nudge a good morning, nudge a how are you? How are you today? Yeah, nudge you. I'll help you with that. Yell,
Yep.
nudge you. These are nudges. They're tiny little shifts. I'll yell out if you need help. Like I do that all the time. And I'm not saying I'm
Hmm.
perfect because some days I get real shitty with the world, and some days I'm like,
Me
some
too.
days I just want to lock all these bastards up and just let them kill each other. Some days I'm so angry with the whole shit show.
Yep.
But most of the time, I'm like, "Oh, just do all these tiny little nudges to just make a difference to people." And why do we find that so hard? Like
Yeah.
as humanity, why do we find it so hard just to be not? And I get it. I'm not asking you a question that I understand it. It's about our psychology. It's about our protection of ourselves.
Hmm.
We're in that hijack state. We've got to always be alert
We
because,
are.
the news tells us at any moment now someone's going to break into a house with a machete, and hack us
Yeah.
to bits. So we're in this hypervigilant state. I get all the psychology about it, but oh, I just wish for a minute we could breathe, engage our bloody neocortex back again and go, wait a minute, wait a minute. This is hyper exaggerated because of the news. Yes, it's existing. No, it's not definitely going to happen to me tonight. Like, let me
Yep.
be kind today. And I just think if we could just breathe and lean into that, the tiny little nudges we would start to move, you know. I have this real big belief in, can we reach a tipping point for good? Can we reach it?
Yeah. I
It's
know. You know,
and
I so am with you in so many ways.
mm,
One of the things that I love, I keep this little, document of quotes, and there's one from this French philosopher from the 1500s that says, "My life has been full of terrible misfortunes, most of which never happened."
yeah, yes, that's so true.
I just love that,
Yeah,
and that's the piece about the media, and and
yep,
and all these, I think it has become in some ways a default
yep,
because of the exposure to think that bad things are going to happen, right?
yep,
And so I go back to your self-awareness piece in your leadership program
yep,
that I have to like watch my defaults,
yep, yep,
when I'm getting depressed about something, or I rage against the world too. I rage
yep,
against certain people, right?
yep,
And so I have to say, okay, how do I connect rather than rage?
yeah, yep,
What do I? So it's to me, it's always sort of like a calibration. I'm never going to be like Gandhi,
yep, yep,
but I can say, oops, wait, going over the line here. Let's come back to
100%.
center,
Yep,
and I think that's that kind of discipline that is so needed now, like
yep,
the other day, a friend put something on LinkedIn where she said, "You know what? Today I just decided to be kind on the road." And she lives in Massachusetts in the US. Massachusetts has this reputation of having the worst drivers in the states, right? So she decided she was going to be kind. And so she was letting people in, she was smiling when somebody cut her off, And I wrote back to her and I said, there's probably some guy who went home after you let him
Yep.
get in and said to his wife and kids, you know what happened to me today?
Yep.
Somebody let me in instead of like cutting in front of me, and maybe those are all the ripples, that you're describing.
I agree, and that we underestimate the ripple effect. We really do.
Yeah.
And because we want to see the tangible evidence of what we've done, but we've got to let go of that.
Yes.
And we've got to just go, well, I don't know what the ripple effect is, but I'm going to do it with good intent because it's going to go somewhere. And it's a ripple effect of goodness or badness. And so
Yes.
whatever we
So
do
why
is
choose badness?
exactly. 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 And when you're saying before, that I always say to people, you can't be self-aware unless you're willing to self-reflect, and you've got to spend that time to self-reflect. You have to. And it's the most painful thing ever is looking in that mirror going, what I do, but
Mm,
you got to do it because you can't become self-aware unless you bloody stop and think about how you are. But I also teach exactly what you've said, this above and below the line behavior, and I say, well, yeah, of course, leaders should act above the line, but we're human beings and we're
yeah.
always going to drop below the line. And who freaking cares? The difference is how long you stay there. And
Yeah. Yeah.
whether you go, oh shit, actually, I'm below the line, how
Yep.
quickly you recover and get back up because no one can stay. No one's Gandhi, and and I'm sure Gandhi went below the line. He just didn't say it
Yes.
out loud.
Yes.
Like, honestly, and I've seen the Dalai Lama get shitty about things. He'll
Yeah.
get frustrated, annoyed, but he doesn't actually say, "You're a dickhead." He actually
Yeah.
says,
Right.
"Let me say that again." So, like everyone in the world, like we all get, oh my God, like at people, we do it, but it's like
Yeah.
it is. It's how quickly do we recover and how aware are we that we go, you know what, stop it because I'm actually not stop it because you're a bad person. Now, let me explain that again. When we go below the line, a lot of people self-punish and go, oh God, I'm an
Yeah.
idiot. I used to do it. I used to do it. You're an idiot. Why do you say, don't be such a dickhead? Why do you say this shit? Now look what you've done. Instead, we should go, oh shit, actually, that's going to impact someone. And so
Yeah.
let me get back up so I send out a much better ripple effect. And that way there's no self-punishment attached to it because we're all going to go there. Like it just stop the self-punishment. I think that's now I've said it out loud, Tom. I've just
Uh-huh.
had a bit of a realization that um, it's the self while we're self-punishing, we're perpetuating,
Perpetuating.
we really
Yep.
are keeping that negativity, that whole a lot of people find it hard not to self-punish though, to
Yep.
love themselves enough to forgive errors. It's
I
mm,
agree. Yeah. No, I think that was something else that you mentioned in your website too. And I don't know. I guess it's that kind of coming back to center, like
yeah, yeah,
your vision is one that I want too, right? And so
mm,
how do I do, like, the biggest challenge to me is how do I be that way with people with whom I vehemently disagree?
yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
that is um tough,
I find that
really
hard
tough.
too. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I
Um,
can't. If someone if someone hurts an innocent person,
uh-huh,
um, I have this default that says, fuck them, just lock them up.
uh-huh.
You lock them up,
Yep.
get them off the streets. And I find it really hard, even though I know better, I find it really hard to give them any grace. Do you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I know I can go, yeah, but what background do they come from? Who's been their role model? Do you know what? but they're all reasons, and I struggle because I say, well, they're all reasons, and I get the reasons, but there's never an excuse to harm another person, and I just, and I'll probably be like this for the rest of my life, and I am hyper aware of it, that I struggle to. I struggle to give grace to people who harm others. And it's,
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't know if I ever will, and it's, don't know, at
This
least.
is may not seem related, but a question I've had running through, particularly because you do work with women. Do you think if we could just take all the leaders around the world, the men,
Hmm.
and replace them with women, that we could get rid of war and start going back to the community kind of orientation that you talked about?
Well, my simple answer is yes, but the more complex answer is I'm not sure. But that's funny because there's this saying, and I say it sometimes jokingly, but it's a bit sexist, but I say it sometimes. If the three wise men were three wise women, they would have asked for questions, they would have baked a casserole, and they would have brought practical gifts, that sort of thing. And there'd be peace on earth, and it is sexist, but I
Yes.
do say it sometimes as a bit of a joke. And then one day I remember saying that, and this was probably, I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago, and I thought, that's interesting. Would there be peace on earth? And so then I did a bit of a Google search of how many women have actually initiated a war. And you know what? The
Ah,
only one that came up with was Catherine the Great, and she didn't
ah,
actually initiate it. She ordered something to happen that ended up then resulting in a war. But it wasn't her
ah.
intention to have a war. It's just that what she initiated resulted in a war. She was the only woman leader ever. This is what I found on Google, and I mean I may be wrong, and my
Great
research
question.
may not be definitive. So, but
Yeah.
I could not find a woman who started a war other than her action that ended up resulting
What
in,
a
you know.
fabulous piece of research. Well,
Mm,
I mean, the question is, of course, naive, but I just keep thinking, let's give it a try. We
so
ain't
do
doing so
I.
well. Let's just try it. I don't care, because we have backed ourselves into a lot of killing.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and it would just be nice to, I don't know, have somebody, I think negotiation would be different.
so do I. Yeah,
Um, I think valuing of life would be different. Um, uh, you know, I I don't know.
it's
I
a big
suppose
question.
again, in that area of creating the world we want, it's hard not to get discouraged,
Mm,
and I think you would love this quote. You've probably come across it because I see you as a person of action, but there's the old Joan Baez quote that the antidote to despair is action.
action. Yep, yep. The
Mm,
antidote to everything is action. I think
yeah.
in the right direction. Just go. I want to come back. I had a thought while you were saying there'd be better, negotiation. There'd be better, that sort of stuff. Here's another bit of validation. This is personal experience and validating what we're saying. Even though someone on this is going to listen to it and say, God, you two are sexist. Stiff shit. Like, honestly, we've got to have some tough conversations because look at the state of the world. It's screwed up. And yes, something
Yeah.
has to happen. And all right, I'll put my hand up and I'll take the brunt of being called sexist. I don't care. But and I actually have a lot of really good friends who are men, so I'm not sexist. But um, we run, and we didn't do it last year, and we're not sure whether to continue. But for 6 years, we've ran the Girls with Hammers conference, and so you
I
get a
saw
room
that.
of 150 to 200 women. Now I've been in that room, of course I have, because I'm on stage watching what's going on, so I can see every person's face. Now, I've also been in rooms where there's been 200 men, and
Hmm.
and that there is a distinct difference. And I'll
Uh-huh.
add, and not just once like this. I've had multiple experiences of this sort of stuff. The men are, and I won't say every man in the room, but a collective of men is competitive. And there's puffy chests, and it's kind of look at me and who's standing up the strongest, and who's given the strongest handshake, and who's bigger, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Compared to, and again, I'm saying not every man in the room, but the collective.
Yep.
And then in the Girls with Hammers conferences, I have only seen collective come together of warmth and love
Fascinating.
and have each other's back.
Fascinating.
It is fascinating. I've also seen groups of women be total bitches in groups, but
Uh-huh.
they have only been, and I know I'm going to cop flack for this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Um, um, Business groups, where people are still have that networking mentality, like trying to get work from each other, hand out business
Uh-huh.
cards and look at me and I'm more important. And so there's still a competitive dog eat dog in that sort of situation. But yeah, I think overall, I'm going to say my experience, women as a
Yep.
collective are more caring, more. I know. Ah, I'm ready for the report. I'm ready for the emails.
Well,
Whatever.
I think that I don't know, a sign of sort of maturity is to, in a multicultural world, is to be able to realize that there are parts of me that are my individual part, and there are parts of me that are my male part, and
Yeah,
and
yeah,
probably the same
yeah,
for you on the other side,
yeah.
right? So there are, like I could be one of those guys who distinguishes myself as an individual, but I could also be a guy who would exhibit some male characteristics. Like I
Mm,
clearly have some. I know, I've seen it.
yeah,
And so I think before you get all the pushback, I think that it is useful to realize that there are some things that we associate with our groups.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
whether they be male, female, whether they be white, black, brown, whether they be Irish, Australian,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
gay,
yeah,
and heterosexual,
yeah.
all those groups, they do have an influence on us, right? And
Absolutely.
there's a
Yeah,
set of behaviors that I have
yeah,
that come from those groups, as well as my individual personality.
yeah,
So I think there's a little of both
yeah,
in
yeah,
all of us.
yeah.
Collective, you use the word. I like that word.
Mm.
Collective, part of my collective personality, I guess.
Yeah, I do too. And you know what? I don't care about it. No one come back at me. They won't, because everyone knows I speak my fucking mind, whether I like it or not. But now I've just looked at the time and I've got to go to the chiropractor. So
Oh my gosh, that's right. You've got the
we
appointment.
have just enjoyed this conversation way too much, and I've
So
gone way over
nice.
time. Tom, I have loved this conversation because
Enjoyed it
it's
so much.
yeah, so have I, and I love the reflection in it. I love it's yeah. At the end of the day, we're saying the same thing, just as little nudges in the right direction. For God's sake, come on, but just the I love pondering perspectives, and about why things happen, and that's how we get ahead. But Tom, you've given me a lot to think about. I'm going to go away and do more research on women in war, because I feel like there's more to look at. But where can people find
Anyway,
you?
so I have a website, tomfinnassociates.com, and they could go there and they can find the Shift Effect on Amazon.
That's the book, the Shift Effect
That's the
book.
book.
So that
Yes.
is great. I'll put them in the show notes, and so people can just click on them and find you. But Tom, thank you
Oh, thank you
so
so
very
much.
much for this enjoyable conversation. It's been wonderful.
It's been great to have you, to meet you and to connect. Like so far away, we have so many things that we connect on. I loved
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, so do I. I love this new age. I love this age of technology and connection, and
Yes,
I absolutely love it.
absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you,
Great.
and I will probably see you on in a couple of days on next week
Yes,
on Samsung. So
you
yeah,
will. I'll look forward to that.
I look forward to it too. Thanks heaps, Tom. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Karen.
Bye bye. See ya.